There's this story from Ghana about, this young girl looking at his father who is peering into the past intensely. And the girl says, "Papa, you are always looking into the past. Why?" And the father looks at her and says, "My daughter, because the answers to the future always reside in the past." And that's where knowledges that are banished in the past, like Ubuntu, become relevant. The word Ubuntu comes from a Southern Guni word or phrase that says, "I am because you are. You are because we are." In other words, as human beings, there's a sense in which there is some connection and interdependence. We rely on each other. Let me start by saying that Ubuntu is not a political program. I also want to add that it is not, a religious, expression. Ubuntu is about our social awareness, a consciousness of the others, a consciousness of the fact that we all have a responsibility to ourselves as human beings, especially the vulnerable among us. But perhaps more importantly, we also have a responsibility to, the world around us, the totality of our environment. So the principle of co-agency implies that we are co-creators. It relies on the recognition that we are interdependent in a balanced biodiversity. So it is that principle of co-agency that Ubuntu encourages, the awareness that our interdependence, that personhood moves beyond the relationship between humans and humans, but a relationship between humans and non-humans, precisely because we are implicated. Even in the West, which thrives on the principle of individualism, there's a sense in which they agree that they're fundamental, basic human rights that each one of us owes to the community. I always like to make a distinction between individuality and individualism. Individuality gives you a sense of independence and freedom, and also a development of your own personal character. Individualism, to the contrary, is self-referential. It is about you, me, all the times. And the ego always takes over. In all human societies, the way we temper the personal ego, communities moderate those by constantly reminding you that you are not living in isolation. You belong to a family, you belong to a broader community, you belong to a community of your peers, and you also belong to the world, and you have a responsibility for that world. If you get, too implicated in your subject, then you end up sounding like a missionary. I don't want to sound like a missionary. What Ubuntu has taught me, in a very profound way, is to realize that some of what we call banished knowledges or indigenous knowledge systems that we have here in Africa and in many other parts of the world, that there is value in some of these knowledges, and that perhaps if we want to reimagine the society of the future, then there's a sense in which a value system like Ubuntu can teach us, one, our mutuality, secondly, our conviviality as a people. The issue then, how do we move the society forward? How do we reconstitute a new South Africa? And this was popularized by the Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He came up, he realized that we can dig into our past and find a value system that can help us to achieve redress, restorative justice, forgiveness, and also healing.